Good evening and welcome to the Bhagavatam. Today we continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, chapter number 21, the essence of Vedic knowledge. Our scene opens in Dwarka. Sri Krishna, the Lord of the universe, is speaking to his dear devotee and intimate friend Uddhava. At this stage of the Bhagavatam, Krishna is preparing to wind up his vibrant earthly pastimes. The city of Dwarka is vibrant with the energy of divine purpose, and yet within its serene atmosphere, a profound dialogue is unfolding, one that encapsulates the very essence of dharma, morality, and spiritual knowledge. Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Being, the God of all gods, source of all creation, is revealing to his dear friend Uddhava, and through him to all of us, the heart of the Vedas. He begins by describing the tragic condition of those who turn away from the true paths that lead to him. To be very clear, he's not just saying there's one path that leads to God. There are many paths that lead to God. Some are more direct, some are more indirect. But every path that everyone is on is a path leading to God. You could be turning away from God. You could be hating God. And all of that is a path leading to God. So whether you like it or not, you're on a path to God. Whether you believe or you don't, doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. Not one difference. So Krishna is providing his final instructions. And in that he's saying that there is a particular goal, a lost goal. He says, those who give up the methods for achieving me, whether they be through devotion or through knowledge, gyan as it's called, analytical philosophy, or karma, regulated activities, and instead cultivate sense gratification, being moved by material desires, must continue revolving in the cycle of birth and death. So, while I said earlier that everyone is on a path to God, some paths are direct, some paths are slow. The slow path is where we decide to focus on gratifying our senses and being taken over by our senses, being taken over by material desires, by taking over for our needs, and whatever it is that our mind, body, and senses are dictating to us, when we are consumed by them. Hear my words carefully. We are consumed by our mind, body, organism. It is now dictating to us the path we should be on. It is now telling us what we should and should not do. Our hunger, our need for safety, our need for enjoyment, our need for pleasure, our need for comfort is dictating to us the goal of our life. When that is the case, then our path becomes very slow because we have not focused it. We have not understood what the purpose of human life is, and therefore we continue revolving in the cycle of birth and death. We are born, we get old, we die, we come back again. We are born, we get old, we die, we come back again. And each time we come back, we look for, how can I be safe? How can I enjoy? How can I create a situation that is comfortable for myself? And how can I live life to the fullest? But this is not life. This is a path of samsara, path of birth and death. And this is not what we really want. We want to be able to live forever, to enjoy forever, to have beauty and love and peace and all good things forever. But nothing in this world is forever, and therefore we are not pursuing life, we are pursuing death. That's the reality, and we don't want to face it. So Krishna opens with compassion, but also with truth. He says when humanity is disconnected from God and people remain bound in endless repetition, chasing pleasures that fade before they even arrive. Here Srila Prabhupada explains that there are 3 authentic paths towards liberation and divine realization. The path of Karma Yoga, which is working in the world without selfish desire. Jnana Yoga, seeking truth through analytical knowledge. And Bhakti Yoga, loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. All 3 lead to the same destination, which is God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, or pure love of God. But those who reject these paths and live only for the senses, Srila Prabhupada writes, fit squarely into the category of those who perpetually suffer bondage. It's a very hard pill to swallow, that our pursuit of pleasure, our pursuit of happiness, our pursuit of safety, our pursuit of whatever it is this mind, body, and senses dictate, that pursuit is a path of bondage. We are not living in the land of the free, the home of the brave. We are living in the land of those who are slaves to their senses, those who are slaves to their mind, those who are slaves to their desires. I have been that. I have been that all my life. And now that I know that, I have no excuse. I cannot keep living like that. But that is the picture of the modern world: endless craving, endless consumption. And despite everything we have, whether you are a multimillionaire or whether you are a billionaire or whether you are even a person living out on the street, either way, in all cases, the emptiness persists. The emptiness that you feel within yourself. We've built civilizations on the pursuit of pleasure but not peace. We have perfected information but forgotten wisdom. The first verse here is not condemnation, it is diagnosis. Krishna is pointing out, you are infinite by nature. Why settle for the limited, for the temporary? Why? 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 He then talks about steadiness. Steadiness and dharma. Being steady in one's own position is real piety, while deviation from our position is impiety. That's what he says. Now here, Krishna gives a profound key. Dharma means to stay true to your path. True to what path? The path only of your mundane existence? No. To stay true to your spiritual identity. Who am I? I am a soul. My spiritual identity is to realize that, to awaken that, to help that part of me blossom, and then proceed on my path of spiritual evolution. Spiritual evolution is not just self-realization. Self-realization is just the beginning of spiritual evolution. So here, what he's saying here is this: do not imitate someone else, whether that person is on a materialistic path or a spiritualistic path, whether that person is more advanced or less. Do not imitate someone else, nor abandon your responsibilities prematurely. So we're not saying that you need to give up material life to do this, no. But you need to know it for what it is. A rock cannot give me juice. A rock cannot fill my hunger. A rock is a rock. It serves no purpose in my stomach. So similarly, the things of this world cannot satisfy me. Me, I am a soul. And how can matter satisfy spirit? How can matter satisfy the soul? Cannot. Any more than a fish cannot be satisfied by all the wonderful things you have in your life. You can say, here's this fish, and listen, I got this beautiful, lovely armchair. Come sit down, watch my TV with me, come for a ride in my car. Well, it needs to be in its water, in its place, and then it's safe. Otherwise, you take it out of that water, it dies. Similarly, that unrest that we feel is like being a fish out of water. So each person has to maintain their place in the world and on their spiritual journey. Both are important. It's not that you jump out of your place in the world either. If you're a householder, you maintain your household. If you are a renunciate, you do that. If you are gifted as a musician, then do that. If you're gifted as a scientist, do that. But remember, this is not the goal of your life. This is just what you're doing in this life, in this moment, at this time. Your real goal is your spiritual growth. Keep that in front and center as the goal and focus of your life. So Prabhupada explains, a young student can't jump to the duties of a teacher. A novice musician can't fake mastery. But through practice, sincerity, and discipline, mastery comes naturally. So on the path of karma yoga, one shouldn't artificially renounce work. One who is intellectually inclined shouldn't pretend to have reached divine love. Krishna encourages evolution, not imitation. Srila Prabhupada and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur both warn of two common pitfalls. Materialists who abandon their prescribed duties, calling them illusion, but then fall into lower desires. So you have a lot of jnanis, knowledge, people who have this spiritual knowledge and they see the world as an illusion. And then they abandon the world because the world is an illusion. So why be in the world? Why do anything here? It's an illusion after all. It's just Brahma. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. The world is an illusion. That Brahma, the divine, is real, reality. So they abandon the stuff of the world. Oh, I don't want to participate in the world. I'm just going to wear my yoga clothes and I'm going to, be in my meditation camps and I'm going to go to my ayahuasca ceremonies or whatever else people think is spirituality. Or I'm going to go into some ashram, or I'm going to go for my yoga teacher training. And I'm not going to participate in the world because its world is an illusion. But then what happens? They've abandoned their prescribed duties, calling them illusion, but then they continue to fall into their lower desires. Their sexuality doesn't leave them. Their desires for pleasure and enjoyment do not leave them. They continue to be driven by these impulses. If the world was illusion, then why are you driven by your impulses? Why do you have desires? Why do you want to enjoy? After all, it's an illusion. The imitators who prematurely claim the status of advanced devotees while still harboring pride, lust, or ambition, you have those. You have many who come into this path of spirituality and claim to be advanced. But in their hearts, there is still pride and lust and ambition. So one must work through these things by being in the world and doing one's duties and one's responsibilities and becoming free of pride, lust, ambition, kama, krodha. These things are very deep, very deeply embodied, embedded in each of us. Ahankar, pride, kama, lust, krodha, anger, duplicity. So much. It's like climbing a ladder, one rung at a time. If you skip steps, you fail. The modern day parallel might be, when you look at people jumping from one identity to another, from corporate to spiritual influencer, from skeptic to enlightened guru, without the inner transformation. It's that fake it till you make it kind of idea. But real progress is not like that. Real progress, says Krishna, is not in embracing, or rather in external rebranding. It's in deep internal purification. So you can brand yourself whatever. I see people who, wear all the robes and have all the shaved head or whatever else that they do as a monk or in a monastery or whatever. But they haven't given up their idea of this is mine, this is my ashram, this is my temple, this is my place. And you, what are you doing here? So there's this pride, there's this arrogance. No, that is not appealing to Krishna. It's not about branding yourself a certain way. It's not about the clothes somebody wears or the designation they have or the position they have. It means nothing. It's about internal purification. And internal purification comes by realizing how fallen we are, how small we are, how insignificant we are, how we cannot do anything without Krishna's mercy, without His grace, without His love. We cannot do anything. And therefore from there comes our heartfelt cry and our calling to God, where we say to Him, Krishna, I need you. Not to get my desires met, not so that I may live a comfortable life. I need you to fill my heart with you, with your presence. Because nothing else in this world matters more to me than you. So steadiness, at one level, is about doing your duty with devotion, to recognize that the work you do is sacred. It's not a small thing. Right? But as you do it, you need to be able to distinguish between purity and impurity. So Krishna says, O sinless Uddhava, to understand what is proper in life, one must evaluate each thing in its context, distinguish purity from impurity, good from bad, auspicious from inauspicious. Krishna is now teaching discrimination, vivek. He says that in religion, in daily life, and even for physical survival, we must make distinctions. We cannot live without them. We may judge food as healthy or unhealthy, friends as good or bad influences, and moments as auspicious or dangerous. But he adds a deeper insight. All these are relative. Ultimately, beyond all relative good and evil, there is a transcendental good. And that transcendental good that transcends both good and evil, that transcendental consciousness which goes beyond our measure of right and wrong, beyond morality, is Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. Prabhupada writes, despite our careful distinctions in morality and health, everything material collapses with time. Even the most moral civilization vanishes. But that which is connected to God, that which is connected to Sri Krishna, endures eternally. So Krishna's message here is, use discrimination to function in the world, but don't worship your discrimination. Morality is a bridge, not a destination. Morality is a bridge, not a destination. It's there to help you. It's there to give you some guidelines. Don't go around imposing it on everybody. Don't use it as a weapon. Don't use it to judge others. Don't use it as condemnation. That is not why it is there. Morality is a bridge, not a destination. The destination is divine consciousness, Krishna consciousness, is that beautiful divine love of God. That, above all, is the destination for all humanity. Then Krishna talks about the burden of religion. I have revealed this way of life for those bearing the burden of mundane religion. You see, religion, when disconnected from love of God, becomes a burden. See, dharma, there are four things talked about, the four purusharthas that are talked about in the Vedas: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So there is dharma, which are our duties, our responsibilities. There is dharma, which is religion. There is dharma, which is our sense of who we are in this world. Right? Whether it's your particular religion or a race or whatever else, that's also part of your dharma. As whether you're a husband or a wife, whether you're a child, these are all part of your duties, responsibilities, part of your physical identity related to this body. But this body is not who you are. While you still continue with dharma, artha, earning money, kama, enjoying what you have earned. But ultimately, you must come to that place of moksha, wanting to know that all of this is futile, is vanity. All of this is not of any long-lasting benefit to you or anyone. What is of benefit? That is that love of God. So Krishna is saying there are countless scriptures providing countless duties. Bhurini, bhurini, karmani, shrotavyani, vibhagashaha. And yet he concludes in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66, Sarva dharman parityajamam ekam sharanam praja. Abandon all varieties of dharma and all varieties of religion, all of it, and surrender unto me. True spirituality implies, rather, simplifies, not complicates. True spirituality simplifies, not complicates. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated that instead of thousands of rituals, only one ritual is needed. Only one practice is needed. Only one sadhana is needed. Only one simple thing is needed to chant the holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is the joyful path, which Krishna refers to as susukham kartum avyayam, which is happily performed and never lost. So why is that? Because you're chanting the names of God. And when you chant the names of God, they're no different than God. You're coming in touch with Him. And when you're in touch with Him, He is Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. That bliss which is eternal, which is your true identity, that is Krishna. Satchit Ananda. That is who you are. That is who He is. And when you are chanting His name, you're coming in contact, directly in contact with Him. And therefore you're experiencing that divine bliss just by chanting His names. Right? So for all the rituals in the world that you could do, different prayers and different mantras and different rituals and different practices, just do this one thing. And you will find supreme bliss. Susukham kartum avyayam. Krishna's method, as you'll notice, doesn't require being part of today's spiritual marketplace with endless techniques and books and apps and workshops. Krishna's method remains elegantly simple. Devotion cleanses the heart directly. Devotion cleanses the heart. Why would the heart become cleansed by devotion? Tell me. What do you think? You are devoted to someone, then everything else goes away. If I'm devoted to one person, one partner even, let's say, in this world, then I have to let go of all other persons in this world. I have to cleanse my heart of desiring all other people. This one person becomes the object of my devotion. Now, what to say of if I now devote myself to God, and now it's not just abandoning all other male or female partners that I might want to go and be with, but now it's about abandoning all other things and just being devoted to this one supreme, ultimate reality. That is real devotion. That is bhakti. And that cleanses the heart directly and completely. Because now there's no room for anything else. My heart is filled with you, Krishna. There's nothing else. There's no room for anything else. There's no room for anyone else. Then Krishna talks about the 5 elements and the fabric of duty. He says there are 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These 5 elements form all our bodies. And this is true for all beings, whether that's the animals or the insects, whether it's a demigod or an asura. All have bodies. And all these bodies are made from these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So all matter, which is made of these 5 elements, is Krishna's energy, His energy. And every body, whether divine or demoniac, human or animal, is built from the same cosmic ingredients. What makes one pure and another impure? It is the consciousness that animates it. See, every body, whether that person is a saint or a sinner, whether that person is a human or an animal, everybody, everything is made of the same ingredients, right? Which is what manifests in the form of earth, water, fire, ether, but which then ultimately is the energy that pervades the entire universe and from which everything is made. All material things are manifestations of that energy. All bodies are manifestations of that energy. That energy, that consciousness is of God. He is the ingredient of everything and everyone and all beings and all creatures. He is the ingredient, the energy of which everything is made. Otherwise, it is not God. So, what makes one pure and another person impure? What is the difference between one? What makes one divine? What makes one demonic? Simply one thing: consciousness. What is the nature of consciousness that is animating and moving through this body? Without recognizing the divine source, people create false hierarchies. They say, this is sacred, this is not. This place is sacred, that place is sacred. This person is sacred, that person is not. My Bible, my Quran, my Gita is sacred, but that is not. No, it has nothing to do with the thing. It has to do with your consciousness. Krishna says everything is sacred when used in his service. That is the principle of yukta vairagya, or detached devotion. Detached devotion. You use everything. You understand that everything belongs to God, comes from God. Everything and everyone comes from God, is of God, and then you use it for God. So you use the material world for God, not for your ego. You use the things you have, your house, your car, your family, your objects of possession, your money, for God, not for your ego. Your ego wants to enjoy, eat, drink, and be merry. Your ego wants to have pleasure. Your ego wants to fulfill its desires. Your ego wants endlessly. When you stop being a slave of your ego and you start recognizing that everything I have is from God and for God, then you use it in the correct way. And then you live blissfully. That is yukta vairagya, detached. Detachment in a very practical way. So now Krishna introduces the varnashram system, the system of social duties. Again, this system of varnashram is not there to divide people, but to harmonize their tendencies. The thinkers become the Brahmins, the protectors become the Kshatriyas, the organizers become the Vaishyas, the helpers become Shudras. See? Thinkers, the intellectuals, they become the Brahmins. They study the scriptures, they study so it's not about just becoming some priest. It's not about doing some ceremonies. It's about being a thinker. It's being a person who's a philosopher. It's being a person who is thinking beyond this world. Brahmana means that they are focused on Brahman. The protectors are the Kshatriyas. They are the politicians, the warriors. They protect people. That's their role. Then the Vaishyas, the business people, they organize things in such a way that society prospers. Not just they prosper, but everyone prospers. And the helpers, they're the Shudras. So that is the Varnashram system. Each role, whatever your role is, whatever your duty is, whatever your particular propensity is, when offered to Krishna, becomes perfect. No one is better or worse in Krishna's eyes. The Brahmin is not superior to the Shudra. That may be in terms of how they function in the world. One is serving the other. But in Krishna's eyes, they're all the same. And when you offer your duties to him, you become perfect. In modern terms, Krishna is saying, whatever your job is, do it as a service to the divine. You don't have to escape your life to find holiness. You have to infuse it with remembrance. You don't have to escape your life to find holiness. You have to infuse it with remembrance of who this life is for, who everything you have is for. when you have that remembrance and you remember Krishna with every step you take, with every breath you take, with every move you make, you remember him, then that is the perfection of life. Then Krishna continues, to restrict activity, I established what is proper and improper in time, place, and objects. So we need to restrict our materialistic activity, not just unlimitedly expand it. Then we are wasting our energy. So the idea is by restricting our material activities, simplifying our life, we then have time free and available that we can worship God, we can serve his devotees and his people. So to restrict materialistic activity, I established what is proper and improper in time, place, and objects. Remember, the objective is to free your time, your energy. So this is divine ecology. The Supreme Lord gives us guidelines not to punish us, but to protect us. Just like parents forbid children from eating spoiled food, God forbids certain actions that spoil the soul. For example, he declares that some lands, sometimes, in some conditions, are impure, not out of superstition, but to discipline our consciousness. In the modern world, people think freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. But Krishna says no. Freedom is doing what aligns you with your highest nature. What is your highest nature? Your highest nature is your spiritual nature. So what aligns you with your spiritual nature? What is your spiritual nature? Jivera Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. We are eternal servants of God. We are part of him. And as part of him, we are there to serve him. Just as my hand serves my body, it cannot just enjoy by itself. My feet serve my body. They serve the whole. The part serves the whole. Right? The eyes, they serve the body. The mind is meant to serve the body, though we now serve the mind. That is completely upside down. But it is meant for the part to serve the whole. We are part of God, and the part is meant to serve God. So Krishna says freedom is doing what aligns with your highest nature. He describes pure lands as those places where saintly people live, where cleanliness is maintained, where cows and devotees of the Lord exist. In essence, where divinity is honored. So it could be your home. It could be a certain place on earth. Places like Vrindavan, certain holy places, dham, places where the Supreme Lord had his pastimes. So those places are the places where divinity has walked, where the Supreme Being has been present. And so those places are greatly honored. He then says that auspicious time is when duty can be performed properly. So there's a time in which we need to do our duties, our work, the things of the day. The most auspicious moment of all is the instant where we remember God. Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Krishna saying, always think of me. But that moment when you are thinking of him, that is an auspicious moment. A lucky moment. A good moment. See, you could be thinking of any number of things, but you choose to think of him. And what does that thinking of him do? It produces a smile on your face. It produces a feeling of love in your heart. And therefore, it is the most beautiful moment of all. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati wrote, the most auspicious time is that in which one attains the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Everything else is secondary. So that brings us to one of the most important pieces, and that is learning how to cleanse the self. A lot of people think that they have to evolve, that they have to somehow elevate themselves. But real elevation is about cleansing the self, because the self is already elevated. The soul is already pure. It is already Satchidananda. It is already part of God. It is not something that needs to become something else. It is perfect in every way. But it is covered by material desires. It is covered by karmic influences. So Therefore, the self, the soul, needs to be cleansed. The self can be cleansed by bathing, charity, austerity, prescribed duties, and above all, by remembrance of Krishna, the divine source of everything. So why is that? Why does... I can understand the body can be cleansed by bathing and so on, and one can do good deeds and charity and so on, and one can cleanse one's karma. Okay, but what is this remembrance of Krishna got to do with cleansing? As I said earlier, when you are thinking of him, when you are connected to him, and when you are connected to him, you're in that resonance, you're in that vibration, and that vibration, that resonance of the divine, of God, of Krishna, purifies you from within. That is so important. The more you are in resonance with him, just as when you place an iron rod in fire, it becomes like fire. So in the same way, when you vibrate his name, when you vibrate in his presence, when you remember him, when you think of him, man mana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskar. Always think of me, Krishna says, become my devotee. Worship me, give your love to me. Surely you will come to me. So when you remember him by any means, by reading about him, by listening to talks like this, by chanting his name, you're vibrating in his frequency. And when you're doing that, you're becoming cleansed from within. This verse is a real diamond. It says all external purifications, water, rituals, mantras, culminate in one supreme purifier, the remembrance of Krishna. In the Garuda Puran, it says, apavitra pavitro va sarva vastham gatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhaya bhayantra suchihi. Whatever, whether pure or impure, whoever remembers the lotus-eyed Lord becomes purified inside and out. This is the essence of bhakti yoga. You don't have to be perfect to remember God, to remember Krishna. You become perfect by remembering him. You don't have to be perfect to remember God. You become perfect by remembering him. Sri Chaitanya simplified this to one act, chanting the holy name. He gave everyone a way to touch the divine every day. So purity isn't about avoidance. It's about remembrance. Now, a lot of people who come on the path of religion become very moralistic. Krishna here talks now about the relativity of morality. The relativity of morality. He makes a fascinating statement. He says, sometimes piety becomes sin. Sometimes piety, people who are pious, people who are do-gooders, become sinful. And sometimes sin becomes piety, according to time, place, and circumstance. Think about it. A doctor cutting someone open is a healer. A thief cutting someone open, or a murderer cutting someone open, is a criminal. The same act, cutting someone open. A sannyasi, a renounced person associating with women, is a fall down because they take a vow of celibacy. So when a celibate person is now associating intimately with the opposite sex, that's a fall down. A householder, family person who's married to someone and associates intimately with his spouse, his wife at the right time, is virtuous. Morality is not absolute in itself. Only the Supreme Lord's will is absolute. Srila Prabhupada writes that Krishna consciousness is the only absolute good because it aligns with the will of the Supreme. All else depends on context. This is an incredible insight for modern ethics. Our world debates endlessly over what is right and wrong. But Krishna teaches right and wrong have meaning only in relation to the divine. When God is the center, morality has life. Without God, morality is a ghost. They are rules without a soul. I want you to really meditate on this. This is so powerful. Right and wrong have meaning only in relation to the divine. When God is the center, morality has life. Without God, morality is a ghost. Rules without a soul. Rules, what is the purpose of morality? Not just so that you may be good. Not just so that you may be nice. not just so that you may be pious or do good deeds to have good karmas, and that good karma will give you good results. This is all selfish nonsense. The real purpose of any morality is to help you discipline your mind, to discipline your senses, and to train yourself to come to a place where you are more devoted and you have time for, and you are more devoted to God. Then there is a soul behind your morality. Then there is a divine purpose behind it. It is not just there like a body without a soul. Rules for the sake of rules. When we become a slave to the rules, when the rules now control us, there's one more thing to control us. It's like our mind now controls us, our senses control us, our hunger, our thirst, our sexual appetite, all of that controls us. And we think we're free. But no. Then we have our morality that controls us, we have our society that controls us, we have our desires that control us. We're a puppet. We're not free. But when our goal is God, freedom by being with God, when we're talking about the love of God, we're talking about that greatest love of all, then the rules that help us get there have a soul. They have an intention. They have a greater purpose. Now Krishna turns to the cycle of desire and ignorance. It gets almost psychological. He says, by attachment to sense objects, one develops lust. So this is not just lust in the form of sexuality, this is lust as in the form of desire. By attachment to sense objects, one develops lust. So how do you end up getting the things you have in this world? Whether it's things or people, doesn't matter. It's because you desired them. And once you desired them, you became attached to them. Right? This is mine, my house, my car, my partner, my children, my family, my TV, my this, that, the other, right? My computer, whatever. Now, if anyone messes with that, you get angry. So from lust comes quarrel. From quarrel comes anger. And from anger comes ignorance. Why? Because someone took away that which is mine, because someone said something about that which is mine, because someone said something about me, I, me, or mine. Now I am angry. Now I will quarrel. Now I will go deep into the ignorance of my ego. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in chapter 2, text 62 and 63, Dhyayato vishayan pumsam sangasteshu vajayate sangat sangaya jayate kama kamat krodha bhijayate. Obsession leads to craving. Craving leads to conflict. Conflict leads to madness. Madness meaning we do crazy things. When we're in the middle of, when we're heated up and we're angry and we're upset and we're fighting with someone, we say and do crazy, stupid things. Krishna describes this downward spiral in perfect psychological language. He says, a person bereft of intelligence becomes dull like a dead body. Absorbed in sense gratification, he is like a tree, alive but only in appearance. How poetic and tragic, living but not alive. Our world glorifies stimulation but starves the soul. We chase experiences but lose meaning. We scroll endlessly but seldom feel. What is Krishna's cure? Remembrance, service, devotion. These reawaken real consciousness, the consciousness of the eternal self. Now Krishna talks about candy and medicine and the correlation. He explains at this point one of the most compassionate strategies in Scripture. He says, these statements of Scripture that promise rewards are not the ultimate good. They are enticements, like candy offered to a child to make him take medicine. So people are enamored by the statements of Scripture that promise rewards, but they are not the ultimate good. What does that mean? You know, there are statements in the scriptures where if you do this, then you will get that. Right? You perform this ritual, you go to this ceremony, you do this worship, then you will get this. But that's not the ultimate good. Even salvation, liberation, mukti, nirvana, this is not the ultimate good. This is an enticement like candy offered to a child. You are suffering? Oh, I will make you not suffer anymore. This is like candy being offered to a child. Because you are suffering, I will take away your suffering. I will give you liberation. I will give you moksha. I will give you nirvana. I will give you salvation. I will take you to heaven. And now your suffering will cease. No. Take me to heaven now, here. That is my ultimate good. Connect me with God here and now, that I may serve, that I may be connected to God. Then there is some value that is long term. The Vedas sometimes promise wealth, heaven, or success to encourage people towards pious acts. But the real purpose is not the candy, it's the cure. The cure is when you turn towards Vishnu. Prabhupada warns, those who mistake the candy for the goal are like patients who keep eating sugar instead of medicine. Sweet for a moment, but fatal in the end. This reflects our modern spiritual culture too. People treat religion as transaction. I will pray for prosperity. But instead, one should pray for purification, not for prosperity. So this is when you may turn religion into transaction, transactional religion. But Krishna says the goal of the Vedas, the goal of any religion, the goal of any spiritual practice is not comfort. It is transformation of consciousness. To change our consciousness. What am I conscious of? Am I just conscious about eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? Is that all I'm conscious of? Then even animals do that. What is the difference between me and an animal? One must transform one's consciousness and become conscious of God, to be able to see Him everywhere, in everything, in everyone, in every situation, within myself, within everyone I meet, within every creature I come across. When you begin to transform your consciousness in that way, when you begin to think of Him in every moment, in every space, in every place, your transformation of your consciousness has occurred. And then you are blissful. Then you have found heaven here on earth. Then it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor. It doesn't matter whether you have comfort or you have discomfort. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold, whether you're here or there. It won't make a difference. Now, there are many misguided interpreters he talks about. Those who are lusty and greedy mistake the flowers for the fruit. Bewildered by the glare of fire and choked by its smoke, they cannot see their real self. It's very poetically put, but there's a deep wisdom here. Those who are lusty and greedy mistake the flowers for the fruit. So the flowers are very pretty, right? But you're not really going to be satisfied if you just eat flowers. Your satisfaction is not going to be arrived at. You may chase the pretty things in life, but the real satisfaction will not be there. So bewildered by the glare of fire and choked by its smoke, they cannot see their real self. Prabhupada explains, materialistic ritualists are fascinated by the outer glow of spiritual practices, Vedic ceremonies, fire sacrifices, hymns, prayers, chants, prestige, but they miss the inner light of devotion. They worship the form, but forget the spirit. It's like staring at a lamp's flame, but missing the light that it gives. Or those who are obsessed with rituals, but not realization. In contemporary terms, you might say people spend hours curating their spiritual brand online, yet forget to speak to God in silence. They know the vocabulary of spirituality, but not its meaning, not its essence, and not its voice. Krishna now speaks about the fog of ignorance. Those attached to Vedic rituals for pleasure are like people whose eyes are covered by fog. So think of religious people, right? Of any faith, doesn't matter. When you perform your religion or your religious practices hoping to get some pleasure, some good outcome. So those attached to such rituals for pleasure are like people whose eyes are covered by fog. Taking delight in violence, they worship demigods and ghosts but never understand me. Krishna compares material religion to fog. It looks substantial and it blinds you. He points out that some even distort the Vedas to justify cruelty like animal sacrifice. The Vedas never promote violence. They restrict it to civilize human desire. But when human beings use religion to feed their ego, not to cleanse it, then religion becomes demoniac. Very important. When human beings use religion to feed their ego, not to cleanse it, religion becomes demoniac. So suppose I believe that my religion is the way, is the greatest. Now, when I say something is the greatest, I'm feeding my ego. I'm trying to say that that which is my way is better than all other ways. My religion, my path, my guru, my Messiah, my whoever is the greatest. This is ego. What do you know about what is the greatest? So when you are feeding your ego instead of cleansing the ego, then religion becomes demoniac. And so many people have turned away from religion, seeing exactly this egoic, nonsensical behavior of the religious people who think their way is the greatest way. No, it is not. This is religion being used by ego and turning demoniac. Just know that. Even today, wars, oppression, and exploitation are done in the name of religion. But Krishna says true religion leads to compassion, humility, and love. Everything else is counterfeit. What is this? What has he said? True religion leads to compassion, humility, and love. Everything else is counterfeit. You see, if you say you love God, you worship God, you believe in God, but you despise humanity or a particular segment of humanity. Let's say you belong to religion A, but people of religion B, you look down upon them. You think they are non-believers, they are going to hell or whatever else you believe, right? Then that is you living a life of condemnation. And condemnation has nothing to do with God. True religion, he says, leads to compassion, humility, and love. Everything else is counterfeit. And he gives the example of the foolish trader. Just as a foolish business person gives up his real wealth in useless speculation, so it could be like gambling, could be like, trading on very risky investments. Foolish people abandon the real treasure and chase the dream of heaven. Foolish people abandon the real treasure and chase the dream of heaven. Please pause and listen very carefully. Prabhupada's purport is stunning. He says, our real wealth is spiritual awareness, love of God. When we trade that for temporary pleasures could be going to heaven, could be attaining material desires. God, give me this, give me that, give me the other. And if you haven't given it to me, then you don't exist. Then I don't believe in you. What is this? This is not how you approach God. This is insanity. So people abandon their real treasure and chase the dream of heaven. Prabhupada says, our real wealth is spiritual awareness or love of God. When we trade that for temporary pleasures, it is like selling a diamond for glass beads. And modern civilization does exactly that. We exchange inner joy for external success, connection for control, meaning for marketing. But Krishna is calling us back. He says, you are eternal being, not tourists in time. You are eternal beings, not tourists in time. Krishna then talks about the supreme purpose of all knowledge, especially the Vedas. Krishna reveals the grand summary where he says, those in passion, goodness, and ignorance, right? In Rajas, tamas, and sattva. They worship the devas, the demigods, according to their nature. But the Vedas, which are divided into 3 sections, ultimately reveal the soul as pure spirit that leads to me. The Karmakanda section teaches duty. So in the Vedas, they have this section called the Karmakanda. And this teaches one's duties. The Upasana Kanda teaches worship. The Jnana Kanda teaches knowledge. But the culmination of all of this is bhakti, or love of God. The Lord, he says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya. Chapter 15, text number 15. By all the Vedas, Krishna says in the Gita, I am to be known. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. And that is the theme of this chapter. All knowledge, all morality, all religion find their fulfillment in the Supreme Being, Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Now Krishna begins to talk about the mystery of sound. It gets mystical. He describes the origin of Vedic sound, how Om, the primal vibration, arises from his own heart. Just as a spider spins a web from within himself, Krishna says, I am the source of the Vedic sound vibration, subtle, eternal, unfathomable, like the ocean. The 4 levels of sound, para, pashyanti, madhyama, vaikhari, reveal that speech originates deep within consciousness. Before we speak, the word exists as thought, then as energy, then as vibration. Thought, energy, vibration. Thought, energy, vibration. All sacred sound, therefore, is divine energy, and the holiest of all is the name of God. Prabhupada writes, the holy name is not different from the Supreme Lord himself. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we are literally touching God through vibration. No philosophy, no ritual, no institution can replace that. The direct connection between soul and source, between the soul and God. That connection which occurs through sacred sound. And then finally, Krishna concludes the essence of all Vedas. He declares, in the entire world, no one but me truly understands the confidential purpose of the Vedas. I am the ritual. I am the deity. I am the philosophy, and I am the goal. The Vedas ultimately find satisfaction in me. So this is the climax of revelation. Everything begins from him, is sustained by him, and finds its rest in him. Knowledge without him is confusion. Morality without him is hypocrisy. Religion without him is idolatry of form. He is the meaning behind every mantra, the purpose behind every prayer, the essence behind every existence. And in his words, we find the unity of all opposites, of sacrifice and sweetness, law and love, of body and spirit. In conclusion, the living Veda, the essence of Vedic knowledge, is not merely in books, rituals, or philosophy. It is the awakening of love for the divine, the love for God, remembrance of the divine in all things and all beings. When you serve as his instrument. When you think with his light. When you speak, let it be in harmony with his purpose. That is dharma. That is yoga. That is bhakti. In the end, the Veda itself, the entire Vedic wisdom, bows to the one it speaks about. And who does it speak about? Sri Krishna, the Lord of love. The voice behind every sacred word, the heart behind every soul. So remember his name and chant it regularly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chant and be happy. All right, so with that, we end for today. And I welcome all of you to write your comments, to ask your questions. I'd be happy to hear from you. I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 5 p.m. Pacific Time in the US. And in India, it'll be on Wednesday mornings, most likely. I think it's 7:30. I always seem to forget this, but yeah, something like that. No, it's these days it's at 6:30, 6 o'clock, I think. Yeah, in India. But all right, the entire episode is there on. Let's see, we've got a question here. The relativity of morality. I love that. I wasn't aware that Krishna has discussed this in the Bhagavatam. Yes. I think we get so lost in our judgment of others, and we use morality for that judgment. But morality has a purpose, just like everything else in this world. Morality is not there to dominate us and control us. Morality is there to expedite our journey back to God. Morality is not there to punish us, but rather to guide us. Morality is not there to make us subservient to some codes of religion. Morality is there to free us from the bondage of this world, from our sensory attachments, from our wanting, our ego, from our mind, from our desires. Morality is there to help us, not subjugate us. And it's very important that we understand this. Otherwise, we will use it as a weapon to judge others. And therefore, morality is relative. There are times where Krishna shows that he breaks the rules of morality because there is a higher purpose. And that higher purpose is more important than the morality. And there are times where he follows the morality. Again, it depends on time, place, and circumstance. And that circumstance needs to be guided by God. Otherwise, it doesn't work. The higher purpose is to become closer to God, to love Him and to love all that is His creation. If that is your guiding principle behind all your morality, then it is perfect. But if your morality is guided by judgment and by hate and by anger and by trying to control others, then it is not beneficial in the long run. All right, anything else? I'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.